time to start to reconnect. So with that reconnection, we're going to start with connecting to our body. So often we believe the mind is in control of our thoughts and about where we're bringing our attention. But in fact, there are more connections going from the body communicating up to the brain than the brain down. So it's more often the body is influencing your mental and emotional state. And then that's where we start as humans, creators, creating little stories and attaching stories behind emotions. So reconnecting to our body and allowing ourselves to notice, what does it feel like when I hold tension? What does it feel like when I feel a certain emotion? Starts to allow us to investigate ourselves and our relationship to the world a little bit deeper. So I invite you to come into a seated position. If you have a blanket or a block, you can fold that, bringing it underneath the hips, allowing the hips to rise. This allows the knees to open up and allows the breath to move without resistance. Take the hands to the top of the thigh or knees, wherever they rest comfortably with a long, straight spine, and gently, slowly rub back and forth. Feel the fingertips as they gently caress the top of the thighs. Sensation of the legs pressing back into the hands. And slowly deepen the breath. And allowing the hands to start moving when you're ready, resting gently down. Come to the breath. Inhale, feel the soft lower belly expanding. Exhale, the shoulders gently draw down the back. Relax. Allow the breath to deepen yet soften at the same time. There's no pushing. Just by bringing our awareness to different parts of the body can allow the breath to move with more ease. And as you inhale and exhale, beginning to listen to the song of your own body, the gentle drum of the heart against the rib cage, the soft inhales and exhales as the air moves past the nostrils and into the lobes of the lungs. The dance created by the rise and fall of the chest as it receives and releases. And keeping the eyes closed or a very soft, gentle gaze, make small circles with the crown of the head, as if you're using the head like a paintbrush on the ceiling. And this is a very subtle, gentle movement. What has happened to the breath? Can you allow it to be deep? Reverse direction. Again, very gently lifting the head up towards the sky and then bringing it forward. The next time the head comes to a neutral position, pause. Take a deep breath in here. Exhale, hands come down to either side of the thighs, fingertips brushing down to the earth. So the crown is lengthening up towards the sky, the fingers on either side of the hips gently brushing the earth. Your inhale, the hands sweep out to the sides, may turn the gaze upward, hands reaching overhead, maybe the palms briefly touch. Exhale, twist to the right, left hand to right knee, right hand behind you. As you breathe here, notice, are you comfortable? Are you twisting past a point of what feels good to create a shape you believe is supposed to be your destination? In reality, the destination is to enjoy the experience. So, where can you allow for that? One long line of energy through tailbone, back of the neck, crown of the head. Next exhale takes you back to center, fingertips on either side of the hips. Come back to the breath. Notice if the mind is racing ahead into the future, and use the breath to bring you back to the present moment. The present is where self-discovery resides. Inhale again, fingertips sweep out to the sides, spread wide, gather the breath up, briefly touching over the head. Exhale to the left, right hand to left knee, the left hand gently pressing down. Feel the openness across the planes of the chest as the shoulders hug back, strong and stable. Maybe gently bringing the chin towards left shoulder if that's comfortable for you. Enjoy the sensation of the fullness of the breath as it moves into the lower lobes of the lungs, draws up into the top of the heart. Exhale, come back through center, and we'll move any props as we come into a tabletop position. Hands are directly underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Spread the fingertips wide, gazing down in between the hands into a neutral spine. Inhale, pressing into the earth, let the belly soften to the ground as you gaze gently up. Exhale, round the back, squeeze the air out of the lungs. Inhale, soften, the chest shines through the gate of the arm. Exhale, hands and feet press down as you round, arching the back. Inhale, tailbone lifts. Exhale into cat. Close your eyes and move into whatever feels good for you, maybe wagging the hips side to side, looking over opposite shoulder. What is the body calling for? Instead of ignoring what it needs, can you create a more harmonious relationship with the arms that have supported you, with these feet that have walked you through experiences? Coming back through a neutral spine, bring the big toes together, spread the knees wide, and either bringing a bolster, pillow, or blanket maybe underneath the chest for a little extra support, we'll press back into child's pose, reaching the fingers towards the front of the mat, bringing the head down towards the bolster. As you sit here, let the breath fill the lungs. As you exhale, feel the body pressing back down to the earth. Inhaling and exhaling. In this posture where we're lowering our head, a gesture of reverence. How would it feel to turn the palms of the hands upward, opening up across the back of the shoulders as an offering? What can you honor within yourself in this moment? If the mind begins to wander, bring it back to the breath. Notice if any part of you is still holding. Pressing down through the fingertips, ripple back up into a tabletop position, keeping the fluidity of the breath move through a couple more cat-cows again, noticing how the sensation may feel different. Perfect. Swinging the feet around, we'll sit back. Taking the leg in front of us, bending the knees, hands behind the thighs. Slowly roll yourself down vertebra by vertebra until the back is extended down to the mat. You have an option to lay down all the way, or if you'd like, you can bring a bolster behind the hips, snuggled up close, and allow yourself to lay back, draped across the bolster, opening up across the heart. Wherever you are, wiggle around. Find the most comfortable expression or shape of the body. Think back into closing the eyes. Notice, where are you resisting? Is there a slight crink in the neck? Are you pressing the scalp against the floor, jutting the chin up? Can you soften this? Taking the hands to the lower belly. Begin to breathe here. Are you holding? Does this sensation of the palms on the softness of the belly create a feeling of vulnerability? As the moon shines above us tonight, we are led by her example to shine without explanation. The moon is covered in scars and indents from impacts of asteroids, craters that span miles that oceans can fit within. Yet when we look at the moon, we see strength. Every day bringing tides, rains that nourish the earth and ourselves. As you breathe into the belly, softly pressing the hands against your own body, can you find softness and allowance for the scars on your own skin? Understanding these are all part of your experience that made you you, are a testament to your strength, your resilience. Slowly and gently rolling over onto whatever side is most comfortable for you. Keeping this soft energy, maybe pillowing the hands underneath the head before slowly pressing back up into Sukhasana, coming into a comfortable seat, taking the hands back to the tops of the thighs, rubbing gently back and forth. And pause. What do you feel in the hands? Is there warmth, coolness, vibration? What is the quality of the breath? And slowly begin to open the eyes. Welcome. As we move through this workshop, many of us might have brought ideas of what we'd like to change, and areas where we believe we can do better. We as a society have been taught that the body and us as people are something that are to be changed, that are to be punished, that are to be pushed. And that just is not true. Instead, we are here to learn how to love. We forget that we are part of nature. We are part of this beautiful world that surrounds us. And when you look at a tree or you're trying to grow a plant in your backyard, you don't look at the tree or plant and say, grow faster. You're going too slow. You're moving in the wrong direction. That leaf is going the wrong way. You give it light, you give it water, sunshine, the nutrients that it craves. You put it in an environment around other vegetation that supports, that creates a cohesive unit that allows yourself to grow into the greatest expression. And that is what I encourage all of us to do as we move through this full moon, as we enjoy this evening. Instead of focusing on what I need to change, focus on where I can love a bit more. And by bringing this love to ourselves, we start to allow this love to shine out in others. This moon is called the wolf moon. And one of the reasons that it's called is for this time of year, wolves howl. And there's a saying that the wolf that does not howl will never find the pack. Well, we can interpret that to mean that if you are not speaking your truth, if you are not allowing yourself to shine the light of who you truly are, how will you ever find the people that were put here to support you and appreciate you and love you? I know personally, I've been really investigating how much time I invest in trying to control how someone will perceive me. I was getting ready to teach a class the other day, and I had a very unruly curl that just was not going the right direction. It was going completely opposite of every other hair on my head. And I'm in front of the mirror trying to fix it. And I just had this realization of there are these beautiful students who do not care what my hair look like. That's not why they're there. And how many other times in my life when there are people waiting on me to show up so that they can enjoy life with me and love me and express happiness with me, did I waste sitting in a room trying to make myself feel worthy of their love? And that's what I think is so interesting, because we can create this narrative that it's other people forcing us to change, when in reality, a lot of the time, it's our lack of self love, it's our lack of knowing of our inherent self-worth that is constantly pushing us, pushing us, pushing us to adjust, to twist, to fit some sort of mold that we weren't really destined ever to be. And so, because so much of our thoughts and our being begin in the body, I'd like to investigate some of the stories that maybe you have created in the relationship with your own. So, getting out your journal now, and closing the eyes for a brief moment, maybe putting the hand on the lower belly and softening first. What are some of the stories you've told yourself about your body that you need to do in order to be worthy of love? So this could be that your curls have to be in perfect place. You have a certain muscular tone. What are the conditions you've put on yourself? And then when you're finished, again, closing the eyes, bringing the hands to the lower belly, and just getting used to touching yourself here. We carry so much judgment and shame. Many of us have been taught to hold this part of the stomach in, just a metaphor for us not embracing our fullness. When do you feel most uncomfortable in your own body? It can be in a situation, in a new activity? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Where do you feel disconnected? And then instead of focusing on resolutions and things that we're trying to change and things that we're trying to bring to us, the whole point of a resolution is this idea that once you have that resolution, you'll be happy. And so instead of focusing on this external object that we're basing our happiness off of, why don't we skip that and just focus on the happy? So I would like everyone to think of one thing that they can do first thing out of the morning. So I mean within the first 5 minutes that you wake up, that is an expression of love to yourself and to your body. So for me, when I wake up in the morning, I know that I have a tendency to rush forward and start to focus on all the things I need to do, and then AKA measure myself up against those things. And so I always start with my hand on my heart and my lower belly. I take a couple deep breaths and I say, "Good morning, Annalise. We're awake, we're alive. Today's a good day." It could be making sure you have a glass of water first thing so that you're nourishing yourself before moving on and making demands. We have this tendency to wake up and hit the ground running without even checking in first. Where am I moving from? If my body is in a state of tension, of tightness, of contraction, that is a message to me that my thoughts are also in a state of contraction. So before I start to move from this space, taking time to open up, taking time to check in allows for more trust between yourself and your body and will allow for more ease in trying to move towards more positive self-talk and more loving ways of motivating yourself. So thank you so much for starting this investigation. And Katie will be taking us deeper into the mythology and stories of this full moon.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was a beautiful poem that you read to us in the resting pose. I really, really loved that so much. I'm going to have to get that from you. So I really want to touch on the idea of confidence, building confidence. And I think that's a little bit what Anna was talking about, where we tend to look outside of ourselves for this validation or this external gratification that tells us we're doing the right things, that we're in the right place. And I'm guilty of it too. I've gone through my own journey of shedding these layers of things that make me happy, right? Things that I used to put a lot of importance on. And so it does start within ourselves. It does start from home. And I think that was so beautifully said by Anna when she touched on how we cannot look outside of ourselves for this happiness because we're never going to get there. Happiness is not this magical destination. It's this beautiful journey that is always in front of us. We just have to open our eyes up to see it and feel it and witness it and absorb it. And I think of that whenever, we're at the end of a yoga class in Shavasana. I almost think of that as this opportunity to absorb this happiness, because most people, when they move through a practice, they're shedding all of these limitations, these beliefs, these ideas that are feeling heavy and weighing down the ability to even feel happy and light and full of abundance. And that is our natural state of being. So yoga is like a way to get us back to our natural state. And once we're there and we're resting in this lovely resting pose, Shavasana, it's like for a moment we can just experience this true happiness. Like there's nowhere else to be, there's nothing else to be doing, just being completely with yourself and your body and your breath. And that's when it clicked for me that happiness is not outside of me, but happiness is always within me. And I just have to remind myself and be open to this abundance that already is moving through me and each and every one of you. So I do want to share some slides with you guys tonight. So we are at the Wolf Moon. And for those of you that were not with us last year, this is actually the moon that we started together as a full moon community, a circle. And this workshop specifically last year was in person at the Lotus Pond. And I remember it so well because it was our first one together. But this year it rests in Leo. So that's pretty exciting because if anyone else on this meeting or who's watching the replay is a Leo, just let me know because I see you, I feel you, I understand you. And yeah, so there is a lot of Leo energy buzzing around right now. Did any of you notice, for those of you that lived in Florida, and I'm not sure if this is true for anywhere else, I'd be curious to know, but it was really cold this morning and it got very warm in the afternoon, but the temperature wasn't warm. It was like in the low 60s, but the sun was blazing so hot that it actually felt like it was warmer than that. It felt to me almost like a summer day where I was sitting in my car and I was sweating. And it was so interesting to me to feel that because I related that almost to this Leo fiery energy that's existing right now in this full moon. By the way, my dog Maya is here with us. That's who's walking around. I figured she belonged here because she looks like a wolf. So I told her, it's kind of like your day. So let me just expand this. And this looks like Maya. This looks like my baby. So when we think about wolf qualities, right, this is a wolf moon. And as Anna said, the reason why the Native American tribes named this moon the wolf moon is because during this time of year, it was very common to hear wolves howling for each other. That's how they would do their hunting. That's how they would find each other to find safety, find like their den, things like that. So it was really important for them to speak up and use their voice to howl. And there's actually a lot of mythology around wolves, and we're going to get into that a little bit today. And some of the qualities that I have seen almost across the board, though, within all of these different mythologies through all different parts of the world, is that wolves seem to carry this loyal and protective energy where they don't just abandon someone in their pack. They don't abandon the mission. They don't abandon themselves. They're even loyal to themselves. And I really think that that's an important thing to consider when we're talking about confidence and building that love within so that we can shine that love out onto others. It's really important to remain loyal to yourself, and not just in a way of, just commitments, but loyal to like what you are nourishing yourself with. Like what Anna was saying, what do you do first thing in the morning? Do you give yourself water and a chance to just be peaceful and quiet and have a few moments of peace and clarity? Or do you immediately turn on the news and start drinking coffee and get like this go, go, go energy moving around in your body and your mind? So how can you be more loyal to yourself, and how can you remain loyal to this beautiful energy that exists within you, this beautiful happiness and abundance that is already within you? So something else that wolves tend to be aligned with is strong intuition. And I really like this idea of around this moon that we are more in line and more attuned to our intuition. And I don't know about anyone else, but I have been seeing so many synchronicities lately. I mean, Anna and I have been calling each other nonstop with these amazing synchronicities. These, some people would call them coincidences, but I don't believe in coincidences. So that's just my opinion. But it's just been this beautiful symphony of them over the last few weeks, really since the start of this year. So I'd be really interested to hear from any of you if you've experienced something similar. You can either write that in the chat or share with me at another time. But sometimes I just wonder, is this just me or is other people feeling this as well? So along with that intuition comes this sense of leadership. So a lot of times when you have a strong intuition, you can act on that and almost create the path for those that are maybe following or those that are seeking guidance, right? So if you have this intuition and you want to share it, right? That's kind of what we do here in the circles is we're sharing our insights, we're sharing our thoughts. And even after these workshops, I tend to keep talking about this stuff to others. And I love connecting about these subjects because this is how we develop a stronger intuition. When we can listen to the thoughts that come up, that the feelings that we sometimes don't give ourselves an opportunity or the time to explore, that is how you foster a stronger sense of intuition. So it's about learning how to trust yourself. And that's really how you begin to trust others. So it's kind of one of those things where whatever you're giving to yourself is what you're giving out into the world. And that was a huge thing for me to realize. It was like a mirror almost, like what I was giving out is what I was, it just kind of it mirrors what's happening within you. So that might be something interesting to explore as well. So wolves also embody this idea of freedom. We think of wolves as these free spirits that just run through forests and mountains and they hunt and they play. And it's like this playful freedom energy that nothing can stop them and they won't give up and they overcome. And I really love that idea of how this could relate to the moon and this energy here, because for any of you that know Leo energy, there is a strong confidence and courageousness there as well. And we'll get into that in a minute. But how interesting that the wolf moon and the Leo energy are so complementary. That's another synchronicity that some may call a coincidence. So to go into some of the mythology and the history behind the wolves, essentially, there was a story, and I actually believe I shared this last year, but the tale of two wolves. So some of you may have heard this story before about the good wolf and the bad wolf that live within you. Everyone has these two wolves, and essentially, you feed each wolf depending on the actions that you give out into the world and the actions that you do onto yourself. So that could be through words, through thoughts, through like actual action, or you could look at it as, are you harming the world? Are you harming yourself? Right. And so when we think about which wolf we're feeding, it's interesting because for me, when I first heard this story, I thought, wow, it's an interesting thought that there's two wolves inside of me. And if I'm constantly telling myself that I'm not good enough or that I'm not pretty enough or I'm not smart enough, then I'm feeding this negative wolf or this bad wolf that they call. And what is that doing to my inner state of mind? Is that making the negative wolf stronger? And then that begins to take over and fight against this other wolf that is more positive, that would carry the love and compassion and the trust and the loyalty. right? All those great qualities of the wolf. And here I am battling these two wolves within me. So it's just a really interesting story. And I think that it's still relevant even in today's times. I don't think that we as humans will ever evolve to the point where, we can't. Or at least where we don't have to look at what we're saying to ourselves or what we're doing to ourselves, but maybe we can. I mean, that's the hope. But I really think that story, as old as it is one of those stories that will always be relevant for us. So if you're ever feeling like you're not having a great day or that you're feeling kind of low, maybe ask yourself which wolf that you're feeding. Think about the wolf inside and which one is getting stronger. And then you know what to do to make the other wolf stronger. That's what Anna was talking about, which is nourishing, giving rest, water, proper nutrients and food, and being around people and an environment that's supportive. That's how you feed this positive or this good wolf, right? So a couple other things that stuck out to me when I was looking into the mythology was these wolf soldiers. And so the Native Americans regarded the wolf with so much respect and reverence that the Cherokee Indians actually had a group that called themselves the Wolf Soldiers. And this was an organization that served as defensive and protective. So they named a whole group of their soldiers the Wolf Soldiers. That's pretty cool to me. And then there's the Wolf Clan, that was another Cherokee clan. They are also called Aniwaya, and the literal translation of that is Wolf Clan. So that's like another word for saying Wolf Clan. And even after the Cherokee Indians went onto reservations and they got, jobs and kind of moved into a more modern way of living, they still turned to like these animal powers, these spirit animal powers of the spirit world. So if any of you have explored spirit animals or power animals, you'll understand that the wolf is one of the most respected animals in that. So there's even warriors that would wrap themselves with wolf skin to seek the animal's strength and power. And they had so many legends and songs and stories about wolves and wolf medicine. So it's just really interesting how vital of a role that this animal played in this culture of the Cherokee Indian tribes. And that's one of the ways that the moons were even named was through these Native American tribes that used to name the moons to help, indicate what time of year it was. So, looking back at history, it's so neat. I always love how far along we were even back then, before all this science and technology. Like there was so much rich and abundant knowledge that was passed down through generations. So, if you ever have a wolf that shows up in your dream, some of you may not believe in reading into dreams, and I like to read into them to an extent, but I don't take them 100% literal. But I do think that it's interesting to explore why certain things appear at certain times, and if there is a deeper meaning to that. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not, but it doesn't hurt to investigate. So when you have a wolf that shows up in your dreams, usually it can mean that there's this strong connection with your intuition or with this primal instinct that we all have within us, but that over time we've kind of repressed down and have just melded into this whole societal cue of like, this is how we all have to be. We all have to be according to society's rules and standards, right? But there's this inner instinct and intuition within all of us that is kind of animalistic in a way. And we can easily tap into that, especially when we start to think about the qualities of these animals, like the wolf or any other spirit or power animal. So it could also mean that you are maybe developing a higher sense of intelligence. Maybe you're working towards something or learning and studying a lot. that could be an indication that you are just in a growth mindset, right? Or maybe a wolf is appearing in your dreams because you have this desire for freedom. So maybe, I know all of us can probably relate to this after last year and all the restrictions that were placed on us. But this idea of freedom, being able to go anywhere and do anything and be with whoever we want to be with, right? That's like this ultimate sense of freedom now. And so many of us may have had wolves show up in our dreams just because of that. Or it could have to do with maybe needing some loyalty and connection, or experiencing a deep sense of loyalty and connection. Or maybe it has to do with manifesting leadership qualities, either something that you're yourself working on, or maybe you're noticing it in someone else and that's just appearing in your dreams. So like I said, I don't necessarily read literally into these dream interpretations, but I do think that they're interesting to explore. So if you ever notice that something is like recurring in your dreams, you notice the same kind of thing over and over, look into it. You know, what does it hurt to explore the deeper meanings of the mind? So I also want to touch a little bit on the Leo aspect of this full moon. So Leos, if there's anyone out there that's a Leo, let me know. We are very fiery people. We can be very dramatic, but creative, brave, and loyal people. So just like in any way, Leos can be out of balance, and it can cause anger and frustration and this pent up irritation, right? You have to think of this fiery, burning energy that could get overwhelming for a Leo. So I think of that in this moon as a way to find balance between these qualities, right? So the full moon can sometimes exacerbate energy, but how can we remain in balance in these areas where we can be creative and brave and loyal and dramatic if it's in a mindful way, right? So we can be dramatic as in wanting to perform and share and inspire, or there's like this negative word of dramatic where it's like just causing drama and getting into all these people's business and causing issues. So I think some people were going through that, especially the beginning of this year, right? There was a lot of drama going on in the world. So it's interesting to kind of rise out of that and ask ourselves where we need to develop more confidence in ourselves, right? Is there more of an ego manifesting within, or is there more confidence manifesting within? Because ego and confidence are actually two different things. And sometimes people confuse them for the same, like, oh, that person's too confident. Like, no, that's not too much confidence. That's just a high ego, right? So there's a balance here where, you know, it's okay to be confident, but you also have to be humble, right? I think there's an expression, humble like a lion, or heart like a lion, or something like that, where it talks about how a lion can be brave and courageous, but also very humble. And that's why lions are actually depicted as these very angelic creatures in a lot of different religions and a lot of different areas of the world and mythology. There was a lot of depictions of them as being these regal or noble creatures because they were able to be so brave and so self-aware, yet peaceful and not so stuck on ego, right? More humble and full of humility. And so there's this fine line of not developing too much pride and ego, but still working on developing confidence. And we can do that through affirmations, through movement, through yoga and meditation, and doing this deep study of ourselves. So even through like the journaling that we do in these circles, to think about what you can do to, excuse me, I just need to drink some water. To think about how you can grow more in confidence and develop this trust in yourself is first showing up for yourself. So that's how I did it. That's how a lot of people I've talked to have developed a better confidence. It's not about looking a certain way. It's not about being super talented or knowing how to do like something like rocket science, or you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be anything. You literally just have to trust yourself, and you have to commit and show up for yourself. And that's how you develop confidence. And like Anna said, it's not something that we can get externally, you know? And I fell into that myself, where I would go and try to find all of these things outside of myself to make me happy. And, you know, shopping and going places, traveling, you know, learning something. Like I'm always looking for the next thing that would make me happy. And I realized that after all that chasing, it was always just within me. And as soon as I was able to let go of my ego and really start to show up and trust myself, that is when the confidence started to build. And that is when I was able to access happiness. So I'm going to switch it back over to Anna, because she's got some really lovely stuff that she's going to share with all of us.
Thank you, Katie. One of the things that I love about these mythologies is actually how deep they are. So when Katie was mentioning how there was these wolf soldiers who would actually wear the pelt of the wolf, there is a deeper meaning behind that. So your skin, it's the largest organ on your body. Therefore, it's the largest sense organ as well. Your skin is constantly picking up air, feelings of water, different temperature, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's this huge, beautiful thing that is constantly creating our life, and yet we can judge it. Just like we have sense organs in our skin, so do animals. So if you think about a dog or a cat, when they get scared, what happens? All their fur stands up on end. And, or if an animal is sensing something, its hair will stand up on end as well. So there is this mythological belief that within the skin lies intuition. When we get goosebumps, when you hear a song that's really beautiful, goosebumps come on your skin, and it's like showing that resonance and that, oh, this is so touching. This is so hitting me in my heart. It's actually creating a physical change within my body. It's also interesting too that as we're in the wolf full moon and Leo, which is all about shining your inner light, not being afraid of speaking your truth. We are in a time right now where there doesn't seem to be a lot of space for disagreement. And so there is a sense of discipline in speaking and saying something and knowing, okay, this may not land well with the people around me. And wolves, they howl to communicate. Lions, they roar. And humans have actually persecuted wolves, and almost, and especially in North America, they were driven out of the forest, and actually the forest started to recede and there was less water. Deer started taking over. And so you can kind of think of that again, just like how we started persecuting these wolves, these like images of freedom, of self-expression, of howling your truth, your song to the world. That kind of happens in life as well, where someone who is completely embodying themselves fully can make other people uncomfortable and can cause a sense of vulnerability. Whenever you're putting yourself out there, there's always opening up to that chance for someone to disagree with you. But something I personally try to remember when it comes to speaking my own truth and staying true to myself, no matter who I'm around, is that if you are changing your words, if you're not expressing yourself exactly what you mean when you're talking to someone, you're basically saying that you do not trust them to know you fully. And so think about that. Think about maybe your relationship with a parent, your relationship with a sibling, or your partner. Every time you slightly twist what you mean, or you couch something in a different way versus expressing the fullness of what you may be experiencing in that moment, you're telling them that you don't trust them. And even if you're not saying that out loud, again, humans, we have other ways of picking up on things. They're gonna feel it. There's a slight protectiveness that happens. By saying you don't trust someone else, you're also saying that you don't trust yourself, that I don't trust myself to be able to handle someone's reaction to my truth, which shows some sort of misalignment between what you believe and what you're embodying. Because if you believe something 100%, there's not really any room for wiggle room. It is truth to you. So, one of the ways that we can begin to take this connection to our body that starts to give us clues to how we're feeling, whether that be tension in the gut, tightness in the forehead, clenching in the jaw. How often throughout your day do you find that you're clenching your teeth or that your shoulders have kind of started hugging forward? These are all indicators that there's something going on emotionally that we are not bringing our awareness to or we are not addressing. And one of the most compelling and great effective ways I have found to combat this is called the RAIN method. So the RAIN method is called that is an acronym for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. And this is something that, sorry, one moment, that you can bring in your day-to-day life. One moment. While you're at work, when you're at home with your partner. So the first step of RAIN is recognizing that there's a sensation happening to begin with. So in this recognition, you're asking, what is happening right now? Now, there's two different versions of RAIN. There's the original version of RAIN that was created by a Buddhist teacher, M. McDonald. And then there's the Tara Brach version, which if anyone's read any of her works, I personally love her Radical Compassion book. It's been very enlightening about my relationship to myself. So the difference between the two is that N in the original version is non-identification. So it's realizing, oh, I am not the thought. I am not the emotion. I am the watcher of these things. Here is this experience. My body is having these reactions. The experience is triggering memories and stories that I have in my head that I've created to understand reality. And oh, I can step back from that and watch it happen and realize that there's a space of awareness beyond. And when you touch that awareness, you start to find this compassion because that separation from yourself, that separation from maybe the intensity of shame allows you to soften. In the Tara version, they switch from non-attachment to nurture. So in the nurturing stage, we're actively giving ourselves the love, the affection, maybe even the parenting that we didn't get that is going to help us feel more love. So that could be something like taking the hands to the heart and saying, I'm with you, I hear you. And this may sound silly at first, and I would just really like to press against if that makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you uncomfortable to touch anywhere on your body, which is you, if it makes you uncomfortable to talk to yourself and to talk yourself through something the same way you would talk to a friend, I would highly recommend spending some daily time looking in the mirror into your own eyes and refinding that connection. There's something about looking into the depths of someone's eyes, including your own, that again starts to break down that barrier, starts to break down all the identities and the armor that we've put on to protect ourselves. So the RAIN method is really used to help work against the stories that shape us. So often we have an experience, which then becomes a story of badness. So you have an interaction with someone, the interaction starts to go wrong, you start to feel bad. So you say, something's wrong, this isn't good. And then this lack of control, this fear, this vulnerability tends to turn into now something's wrong with me. This is very common where we put a story or judgment on what's actually happening, and it creates a mistrust of self in order to handle and take life as it comes. So the first steps of recognizing and allow, recognize. This is where you consciously start to tune into your experience of you. So what are you feeling physically? What are you feeling mentally? And what are you feeling emotionally? And realizing those are three separate things. You can feel tension in the shoulders. You can feel mentally really scatterbrained, and you can feel heaviness in the heart. And they're all going to be giving you slightly different cues to what's going on. Now, it's important that as we are recognizing, we are not pushing away anything. That's why step number 2 is allow. So there's no need to fix or change what the experience is. You can close your eyes. You can send a message to your heart that this is right now, and that's okay. I can let this be what it is, and I'm okay. You can even just say yes. You know, the resistance is where suffering lies. When a situation happens and we start to get that mental clench of, no, 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 this is not what I was trying to manifest this morning. This is not what I thought when I rolled out of bed. This was not part of the plan. That clench starts to come into our thought too. And when we start to clench, that's when we start to fall into unconscious patterns, behaviors, and belief systems that will start to actively project on the person in front of us. So if we're having a conversation where we're feeling misunderstood, if we don't start to realize, oh, I'm feeling the sensations of feeling misunderstood, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling contracted, we can begin to make the story bigger than what it really is. It's important to understand that it's normal to experience some contraction to an unwanted experience. This is part of being human. It's evolutionary design that when something is uncomfortable, we're moving in the other direction. It's what's gotten us to this point in society. But there comes a time when you realize, okay, this no longer is serving me in my highest good. Let it go and make space for something else to arise. So the third and fourth step are investigate and nurture. So investigation, this is allowing your natural curiosity of yourself. And yoga, we would call this swadhyaya, self-study, to arise. So what most wants my attention? Is there this upswelling of like maybe a cry happening inside of me? What is calling out right now? And as you've allowed yourself to really sink into the experience, what is now happening in your body? So maybe you've started to soften, maybe the breath begin to groan, or the exact opposite. Did allowing yourself to actually feel into the sensation cause more tension, cause more aversion because you really don't want to go there? And just like everything in life, things that we really don't want to look at are probably the things that most need our attention. The fourth step, and that I think personally has been so transformative, not just for me, but for the relationships in my life, is nurture. This is where we often skip. We tie self worth to what we're doing, we tie self worth to what we can show, to accomplishing, instead of just inherently knowing you're deserving of love and compassion. So, cultivating intentional gestures of kindness, saying, I'm so sorry, giving yourself the words that maybe someone else is not giving you. Whatever naturally arises in this moment is where you want to lean into. Would it feel good to roll the shoulders? Maybe you close the eyes and take a couple deep breaths. And if this is hard for you to extend that compassion and understanding, in the step, what you can do first is imagining someone you love. Wait until you feel that really natural, overwhelming sense of, oh, you just want to help them, you want them to be happy, and then start to turn that attention back to yourself. And the very last step is after rain. Just like after rain, there's a period of quiet where the world is really green and everything is absorbing. We need to absorb that as well. So allow yourself time to sit. Notice how your experience of self has changed. Notice the quality of the thoughts and just really lean into this doesn't have to become my truth. I don't have to let this experience ripple into the rest of my day. How can I just lean into the present moment a little bit more now so that I can let this go and step forward into the future? And this is where change begins with us. In our society, we are constantly pointing the finger, looking at others, saying, this is wrong, this needs to change, this is what you can do better. But when we begin to cultivate a deeper connection with our own innate goodness, that shines out of us and we see it within someone else. If our first instinct is when we are feeling shame or hurt or disappointment in ourselves or wishing that we did better, if our first moment is to judge ourselves and to look at all the ways that we should have done better, you're going to do that to the people in your life. You love people and you'll see them make a mistake, and your first thought will be a judgment. And as Katie was talking about earlier, do you want to feed that wolf? Do you want to feed the wolf of judgment? Do you think that will lead to a better connection with yourself and the world around you? Or do you want to lead by example? I love that saying, to turn the other cheek, because it's not turning the head just so someone can slap you again. It's literally turning away from the ugliness, from the illusion that this person, the fact they've forgotten their goodness, and refusing to see that and looking to the good, looking to what's better. I really think that, in 2020, a lot of us were just focused on moving through the next day, grounding ourselves. And in 2021, I really think that we can take it up a notch, bring in that Leo self-love, confident energy. So after doing rain, after recognizing, allowing, investigating, and nurturing, where can you bring joy? Dance, sing, shake your body, move. I know for me, all of my friends have been getting inundated with lots of different songs. There is a music that helps move me into a space where I'm just joyful. So if there's songs from when you're younger that just don't have any sort of twinge of sadness behind it, that really just feel nostalgic, put that on. I've been listening to The Sound of Music, I Have Confidence. And when I listened to that as a younger kid, I didn't realize how much power was in that. Just like, I have confidence in sunshine, I have confidence in rain, and then I have confidence in me as well. I have confidence that I have the courage to look at my mistakes without defiance. And that word defiance, that is bringing up that resistance, that refusal to recognize, that denial of truth, versus just embracing, okay, this is another beautiful opportunity for me to lean into self-love and to change the world by changing my relationship to myself. So as I stop sharing, there are lots of songs and different things that you can do, but if you can think of one song now, I would like you to maybe write this song down in your journal, and when we get finished, maybe you take some time to play the song and dance and get in tune with your body. I'd like to end this with a reading. I've been talking about this book, Woman Who Run with Wolves, to anybody who will listen to me. If you've been to my yoga classes, you've definitely heard excerpts of it. And finding ways to love ourselves, to love our bodies, and understanding how much memory the body holds within us, I thought was just so perfectly embodied by this paragraph. The body is a multilingual being. It speaks through its color, its temperature, the flush of recognition, the glow of love, the ash of pain, the heat of arousal, the coldness of non-conviction. The body remembers, the bones remember, the joints remember, even the little fingers remember. Memory is lodged in the pictures and feelings and cells themselves. Like a sponge filled with water, anywhere the flesh is pressed, wrung, even touched lightly, a memory may flow out in a stream. To confine the beauty and value of the body to anything less than this magnificence is to force the body to live without its rightful spirit, its rightful form, its right to exaltation. To be thought ugly or unacceptable because one's beauty is outside current fashion is deeply wounding to the natural joy that belongs to the wild nature. My hope for all of us is that, like the wolves and the lions, we begin to connect back to that wild nature, that we look at our body as this beautiful blessing to connect to the people around us. The power in a touch of someone's arm, the power of the kiss against someone's forehead, the power you have to love yourself and shine it to others so that they, through seeing your full embodiment and full expression of who you are, by shining that light, you unconsciously give everybody else the permission to do the same. So I know that after this circle, I will be singing I Have Confidence from Sound of Music. And I hope that some of you will be joining me in singing your own favorite songs and moving and reconnecting to the beautiful being that is you. I'm going to turn it back to Katie now and just thank you all so much.
Wow, that was so beautiful, Anna. And just so all of you know, I received some of the music that Anna was talking about earlier this week, and the Confidence song was one of those songs. And it is fabulous. So for anyone that couldn't think of a song to play, I invite you to look up I Have Confidence by The Sound of Music. It's a good one. It'll make you want to sing and dance for sure. So I'm actually going to share my screen one more time because there was a couple things I wanted to continue to share with you. So as Anna was saying, 2021 is such an opportunity to claim this year. You know, how are we going to claim this year instead of just moving day to day and kind of just going through the motions, right? How can we live fully in the moment and really take advantage of each breath, each moment of each day, right? And that's where the magic is. That's where happiness truly lies. And that is where you can find this beautiful area of confidence. And as Anna had us touching the belly earlier in class, I kept thinking of how the solar plexus is home to our confidence, and how getting more comfortable with touching our belly in this part of the body. And as Anna said, maybe placing one hand on the heart and one hand over the belly, and just feeling this love pouring from your heart, this confidence pouring from your solar plexus, even if you don't believe that it's already there, but just like tapping into this source by placing the hands over these areas. That is a huge, huge way to shift the energy within you. It works for me, and I invite you to give that a try if you're ever feeling like you're lacking in those areas. And as I was mentioning before, you know, where can you be a little bit more humble? Some of us are a little too confident sometimes, and the ego can get in the way and pull us out of this state of presence and more into a state of, I guess, self, in a way that's disconnected and not connected. So I like to think of ego as like a disconnected version of the self. So what would allow you then to be your most radiant self? And you can write these down if you want, or you can just think through these in your head. I just want you to start to get these ideas flowing within you for the next activity that I want to lead you through. So what does allow you to connect to your radiance? You know, what is it in your life that you're passionate about, that you're excited about? And how much time do you make for that? You know, do you make time to move and dance and sing and explore and create things? if that's something that you're passionate about, or do you tend to put it off and say, oh, I don't have time, I'll do it later, or oh, I'm too busy, or oh, I wish I had the time, but I just can't seem to find it. And I know that we're all busy people, I'm one of them, but there's always time that you can make for something that you're passionate about. And there's always time to live with radiance, because if you're not living radiantly, then how are you living? What's the opposite of radiant? Dull, or maybe um, dark, or shadowy. Like I'm trying to think of all these words that are the opposite of radiant and shine and this openness. And so if it's up to me, I want to live as my most radiant self. So I ask myself these questions. What is it that I'm making the time for each day, and where can I add some more spaciousness for that which makes me feel radiant? So if you want to write any of these down, you can go ahead. I can also send these to you guys in an email later on so that you have them. But I wanted to go to this chart just so that you had a better idea of the difference between your confident higher self and your ego self. So your confident higher self is going to think, I create my own reality, right? So that is like this confidence and this trust that you have the ability to manifest the abundance that you desire, right? Whereas the ego is going to play this victim role. I am a victim of my circumstance. It is because of this that I am that. It is this person's fault that I am here. It is the world's fault that we don't have this, or that our world is that. Like I'm not going to put any labels on anything, because I want you to be able to fill in the blanks for yourself. But you maybe notice if you have a tendency to play this victim mentality instead of taking ownership for your own reality, right? Because that'll tell you right there if you're out of balance, and if you're more on the ego side than you are to your confident highest self, right? So another statement that you may hear yourself saying is, I live in abundance, there's always enough. That would mean you're connected to your higher self that trusts that everything that you need is always going to be provided for you, right? Whereas the ego will try to trick you into saying that you live in scarcity, and that there's never enough, and that you have to protect your resources and not share, that you have to conserve and hoard and not let go. And that's when you start to feel heavy, because you're living this false sense of reality that there's scarcity, but in fact, you're hoarding so much energy and ideas and thoughts, and all of these things are just like weighing you down. So that's an indication that you're resting more in an ego state of mind. Your higher self may say, I'm in harmony with the world, whereas your ego self may say, I'm in competition with the world. So do you notice yourself living in harmony with those around you, or are you constantly competing for the spotlight, or for attention or validation, or something outside of yourself, right? Keeping up with the Joneses is the expression. You're always looking for the next thing, wanting up the person next to you, or wanting to be at the same level or higher than the person next to you, right? Instead of just living in harmony and accepting your beautiful talents for what they are, and appreciating someone else's beautiful talents for what they are. So, it moves on to I'm happy versus it's complicated, right? Because if you're living in a state of ego, it seems like nothing makes you 100% happy. There's always something that needs to change outside of you. And then, do you feel confident, radiant, and connected? Or are you feeling insecure, dull, or disconnected? So this would be a great way to check in with yourself and see in which state of mind you're living in. Because even if just one of these statements on the ego side is showing up for you, then that could be an indication that you need to just pause and give a little bit more love and time and spaciousness for yourself, so that you can continue to work on your shining light and work on your radiance and your confidence, right? So, once again, if you want to take a picture of this or write any of these down, you can, but I can also share this with you guys in an email. So the next thing I wanted to share with you guys is called lion's breath. This is a pranayama or breathwork technique that I learned as a yoga teacher. And I don't often share it in my classes, especially not these days, because it's a little bit hard to do some of these in groups of people. But since we're all in the safety of our own home, I thought we could go into it a little bit and I could get silly with you guys because this is one of the silly pranayams. There's a lot of potential and a lot of power behind it, but obviously it requires us to be a little bit vulnerable and kind of stick our tongue out and get kind of weird with it, and that's fine, and I took this picture personally because I wanted you guys to know that it doesn't matter what you look like in this breath work, and that you don't need to put this importance or this judgment on that part, and it's more important to just let loose, enjoy and trust the process, and you'll really have this potential to let go and to feel this ease of anxiety and tension. This breath work is amazing, actually. It not only alleviates stress and anxiety, but it also can improve your sleep. It can improve circulation in the facial muscles, even around the neck. It can lower your blood pressure and even help with asthma or COPD. I looked into that, so that's pretty good. This would be a really great breath work to do, especially with COVID being so prevalent right now, to prevent and to nourish the lungs, right? And it also can help to lessen cigarette or nicotine cravings. And this is something that I have personal experience with as I, quit vaping last year, and I used a lot of pranayama techniques in order to help me with that. So if anyone is currently trying to do that, please talk to me because I have some tips for you. And it is definitely possible if you're open to it. So it can also open your throat chakra and improve your confidence. So just like Anna was saying, opening up these channels to speak your truth, this is a really amazing technique to help you do that. And a lot of singers and people with speech impairments actually use this pranayama to help them overcome and to help open up the passageways for them so that their voice can be louder or more clear. So to do this, there's actually a couple different ways. So I took a couple different pictures. The first one was with the eyes closed or down towards the earth. This is going to be a lot more grounding to do. So if you're new to pranayama, you're new to breath work, I recommend that one for you because it's going to feel the most safe and grounding. Now, if you want to direct the energy more upward, you can have the eyes open and facing forward or upwards. And this is going to help to release and let go in a way that directs the energy more up and out. So this would be more for someone that has some experience in pranayama that also knows how to kind of find this balance between effort and ease. Okay. And then the last one would be eyes open and facing the third eye, which kind of almost makes you feel cross-eyed. So I only recommend that if you have been practicing pranayama and breath work for a little bit now, because that one can feel a little bit startling to just do right off the bat. So if you're new, like I said, just stick with a simple version. Just let the eyes come down. And I'm going to switch slides and we're going to come back to that in just a second. But I really wanted to give you guys an opportunity, and only if you want. So last time we did a full moon circle, we did a releasing ceremony and I felt amazing after that. So I really thought it would be cool to do a releasing ceremony again with you guys, but this time we can do it with the lion's breath and this beautiful pranayama, this breath work of releasing, of letting go, of just expelling this heaviness or the negative energy that you feel that's weighing you down right now. So if you're interested, I could actually add your word. If you have a word that sums up what you want to release, I can add that to this slide, and I can leave the slide up for us while we do Lion's Breath. If you don't want to add a word, please don't feel pressured to. You don't have to. It's just a visual way to kind of see what you're wanting to release and let go of, so that it will be a little bit more powerful for you. So let me just, oops. All right. So yeah, if anyone has something that they want to add, frustration, that's a good one. Expectations. All right, so let me add that. Past, ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, letting go of the past is really hard sometimes. Past. Good. Expectations. Self-doubt. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I could let go of some of that right now too. And for anyone that's watching the replay, this is hosted on YouTube, so you could always leave a comment below and let us know what your word is. Resistance. Nice. School stress. Yeah. The need to know how the future will turn out. That's a good one. School stress and perfection. Yeah. Perfection is like such a disease. I feel like that's like the biggest disease that we have in our society, is this idea of perfection. It's not there. You know, it's such a it's such a illusion in itself with it. So the word Maya, it's interesting. My dog's name is Maya, this husky, beautiful dog, and that graced us with her presence. My wolf dog, her name is Maya, and that word, it actually means illusion. So how interesting that that kind of is a synchronicity in this as well. Maya is like this illusion that we're about to let go of and manifest our own reality, something that's new and fresh and radiant. So, all right. I think I got everyone's. If there's anyone else that wanted to add something, let me know, or else I'll open the slide back up and I'll guide you guys into Lion's Breath. All right. Wonderful. So what will you release? What will you let go of? And in your own space, get yourself set up. You can, if you're using a block under the hips, that's fine. Or you can just sit in thunderbolt pose here with the hips in between the heels or right on top of the heels. And so I like to actually place my hands in front of me with the palms facing down. And have the fingers pressing back towards me. I've got my Maya here trying to distract me now. And so have the palms pressing down. And if it feels more comfortable to have the fingertips forward, that's okay too. And so you want to think about opening the heart forward through the gate of the arms, just like we do in cow pose. So when we were doing cat and cow earlier, Anna said to shine the heart forward through the gate of the arms. So think of that here, shining the heart forward, externally rotating the shoulders, and feeling very open and receptive here. Now we'll inhale deeply through the nose, and on the exhale, you'll extend the tongue out and really feel this pressure coming from the back of your throat. So it's a little like this. So it's a really audible breath. Think about a roar of a lion or a howl of a wolf, and just allow yourself to be loud. There's no one around you that's going to judge you. You're probably at home with your family, and let them be in on this or let them laugh at you. Who cares? This is for you. But really get vocal with it, and we'll do a few rounds. So I'll guide you through the first couple, and then I'll kind of let you do it on your own as I say some of the words that we wrote down together. And as I say the words, you can think even more how you want to release and let go and allow more spaciousness in your heart, more spaciousness in your mind, and even in your spirit. So let's get ready. We'll inhale together. Exhale for lion's breath. And take a deep breath in, a soft breath out. We'll take a pause in between each round. And moving into another lion's breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale for lion's breath. Good. Inhale, exhale softly, pausing in between rounds. And again, inhale. Exhale for lion's breath. Good. Inhale, exhale softly. Now I'll release you to go on your own at your own pace. So if you just want to do one here and there, that's fine. If you want to release the breath completely and just do some audible exhales through the mouth, like a sigh or something like that, that's fine as well. So now that you've experimented a bit with lion's breath, make any modifications that you need. Allow yourself to inhale fully, expanding through the lungs, exhaling frustration, expectations, stress. Inhale this abundance, this creativity, this passion within you. Exhale any resistance around aging, around your body, or around any changes that you may be experiencing. Inhale to fill the lungs with radiance and light. Exhale to release self-doubt, perfectionism, and the need to know what happens next. Inhale, truth, love, warmth, and trust. Exhale, anything that holds you back from your highest self. Wherever you're at, take a deep breath in through the nose. A soft exhale through the nose. And we'll slowly come out of this position. You can come back onto your sitting bones into Sukhasana if you'd like. And just give yourself a moment here in Sukhasana to feel any of the resonance from that activity. Feeling any vibration, any buzzing, any tingling. Perhaps placing one hand over the heart, one hand over the belly, and just breathing into your hands. Feeling the fullness. the expansiveness, and the nourishment that each breath gives. Placing both hands together right in front of the heart space in Anjali Mudra, prayer hands. Close the eyes and slightly bow the head down, showing yourself some love and appreciation for taking the time out of your day for personal growth and development, for connection, and for this beautiful energy that you've shared with the group just by being here. So thank you so much. Thank yourself and thank each and every one of your fellow peers on this call. You can slowly open the eyes. Namaste.